We are discussing 2027.
I am part of it. I do all I say, and that's what I'm going to say now, is that whatever realignments, whatever coming together, we must discuss the future of this country. We're not just going to, I'm not going to be part of just wrestling power for power's sake. No. I want to know that we're going to do this in order to be able to invest in education, invest in health, invest in pulling our people out of poverty. How can a country with this size of uncultivated land not be able to feed itself? Charles, agree with that. That's why I've always said, I'm not desperate to be president. I'm desperate to see Nigeria work. Charles, it is all these alliances, all these groupings that brought us to where we are today. Because people were blinded. Instead of seeing what they would do to make the country work, make the country productive, they were focused on wrestling power. What are we going to use the power to do?
Yeah, but you ran for office in 2023. You wanted to wrest power from
yes,
the
because
APC.
I wanted to do something.
Right.
Charles, I wanted to do something. I wanted to use it. By now, you would have been seeing the impact on education visibly. And I'm not talking about people coming to say it in TVs. You will be seeing it visibly. I would have even been visiting the schools.
Well, that's why some of
the health. You would have been seeing the primary. We have over 70% of our primary care are not functional.
But that's why some of your supporters are saying that for you to make this happen, you have to be able, you've got to be positioned, they say, to win the presidency.
Don't just say some of my followers. I want Nigerians to know it is about their country.
Indeed.
So many Nigerians today don't know where the next meal will come from. They don't know. Several people have been to hospitals where people can't leave the hospitals because they can't pay. We have less than 5% insurance, health insurance in this country, when comparable countries like Indonesia have 95%.
Yes, but you're not going to be able to change that unless you become president.
No, but the people have to know and know that this man can do it. Because we have a critical situation, Charles, where we're not addressing it. We have a country where our debt in 2015 is between 15 and 17 trillion. Now we have a country with a debt of 150 to 170 trillion. A country where our cost of debt servicing is now higher than our critical areas of budget for critical development, education, health, pulling people out of poverty.
All Peter Obi is asking for is what any honest and genuine leader with the right intentions would normally ask for. Unfortunately, in Nigeria's political space, genuinely thinking ahead and planning for the future is considered strange because many of our politicians are not sincere. They are not driven by vision. They are driven by the hunger for power. To them, power itself is the ultimate goal, not the tool to serve the people. Peter Obi is insisting that any serious coalition must first have a clear blueprint, a well-defined plan of what they intend to do once they eventually come into power. He's not interested in simply winning an election for the sake of it. What matters more to him is what will be done with that power, how it will be used to improve the lives of Nigerians, to fix the broken systems, and to rebuild the country on a strong and sustainable foundation. This kind of thinking is very unusual to the average Nigerian politician. Many of them do not even have any idea of what they plan to do when they get into office. To them, manifestos are just part of the campaign process, fancy documents printed to impress voters during elections, not real policy guides they intend to follow. In fact, many of them do not even participate in the writing of their so-called manifestos. Once they win, those documents are quickly forgotten. For a typical Nigerian politician, the priority is very simple. Grab power first, then figure out what to do later, if they even bother to think about it at all. That is why when Muhammadu Buhari won the presidency in 2015, it took him several months just to form a cabinet. That delay was not a strategy. It was a clear sign of unpreparedness. There was no solid plan in place. And APC is a typical example of what happens when people come together only to take power without first agreeing on how to use it wisely. They united mainly for the purpose of removing the government in power at that time. Once they achieved that goal, confusion set in. There was no clear direction, no unified vision, and no immediate roadmap for national development. That lack of preparation and internal coherence is one of the main reasons Nigeria is in the condition it is today, struggling economically, socially, and politically. Peter Obi is trying to avoid a repeat of that same mistake. He wants the coalition to sit down and first agree on key policy directions. Their policies on education, healthcare, security, poverty alleviation, job creation, industrialization, and economic restructuring. He believes that when power finally comes, it should not be a moment of confusion, but a smooth transition into action guided by already agreed plans. Unfortunately, this kind of thinking sounds strange to many Nigerian politicians and their loyal supporters, often known as data boys. These individuals do not care about the future of Nigeria or the well-being of its citizens. They are only interested in being close to power so that they can receive small personal benefits along the way, their own crumbs from the table of power. That is also why when Peter Obi says that he is not desperate to become president, many people fail to understand him. In a political environment where people will do anything, say anything, and align with anyone just to reach the top, such a statement appears confusing. But what he's simply saying is that he would rather not be president at all than become president through the back door or via compromises that will render him powerless, ineffective, or irrelevant. To him, there is no honor in holding the title Mr. President if he cannot bring meaningful change. There is no pride in occupying Aso Rock if he is unable to serve the people or implement the reforms Nigeria desperately needs. That is why there are conditions he will not accept, alliances he will not form, and deals he will not sign just for the sake of ambition. His interest is not in power for power's sake, but in leadership with impact. When you truly understand this, you will also understand that Peter Obi is not a politician that can be easily bent, bought, or bullied into compromising his values. He cannot be pushed into an arrangement he does not believe in just because it increases his chances of winning. This is exactly what makes him different and at the same time difficult for the traditional political class to deal with. In all of this, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. In the midst of confusion, desperation, and power struggles, one politician in Nigeria today stands out in terms of clarity, discipline, and long-term vision. And that politician is Peter Obi.